Hey everybody, it's Danny, the Wicked Awesome Gardener, coming at you from the Wicked Awesome Garden, and I'm out here today under my bean trellis, which is dangerous, let me tell you, because within arm's reach there are at least a dozen beans, and those are supposed to be my dinner tonight, and sitting next to them I keep snacking. Whoops! But I'm here under my bean trellis because today is going to be a slightly different video. While this channel is mainly about how-tos in the garden and growing your garden and being a better gardener, a lot of it also, the intent anyway, was to be about me and my garden and my garden journey, and hopefully my journey into homesteading and things like that. You'll hear more about that in my much promised and talked about hopes and dreams video, which I am working on. It's like I said in another video, it's just so hard to sit down and actually voice it. So I'm working up to it. This video is part of it. The intention of this channel always was to have a little bit of vlog content, which is why you see a little bit about my dogs and things like that. So today I'm going to give you a bit of a get to know me, just some fun questions, random trivia, and you know, just have a little fun with it. And I'm going to eat a bean anyway. Delicious. I will try not to eat a bean with every fact. So number one, I am 40, which makes me a Xennial, which is this tiny little subset generation kind of in between the Gen Xers and the Millennials. If you Google it, you'll get a different range of years depending on what site you click on, but to my mind, it's anyone born between, say, 1977 and 1983. I was born in 1981, so I'm part of that generation that grew up running the streets, come home when the street lights came on, but also about the time that I hit middle school, we got the internet and we had computers. And it really kind of changed the landscape and changed how kids grow up. So I got a bit of both of that. The, I guess, Gen X fight the man cynicism, and at the same time I've got the millennial we can make the changes type of attitude, and it puts me in a really weird place sometimes. I'm also a mom, and I have two kids that are Gen Z. Being born in 2002 and 2003. They are two girls. They are 19 and 17. They graduated high school in 2020 and 2021. They both got really robbed of what is considered the normal senior year. It was really tough for both of them in many respects, but they are recovering well and starting to think about college now. Fact number 3 would be that I have 2 children, but I have actually had 4 beautiful, wonderful, healthy babies. I was a surrogate mom twice. I gave birth to belly buddy number 1 that I call Speck, because that is what I called him when he was in the womb, in 2018, and then in 2020, in the early part of the pandemic, we're talking like April, when everything was so crazy and nobody knew what anybody was doing, I gave birth to another little boy, and we called him Bean because I became garden obsessed about that time, and I don't know, he was just a little bean. So I gave birth to him in April of 2020, and their families are amazing, and I'm sort of long distance extended auntie to both of them. I talk to their moms on occasion, get all sorts of pictures. They are great families. I was so blessed to be a part of bringing them into the world, and it's just one of those really cool things that's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I live near Boston, Massachusetts, so I grow here in Zone 6B. I'm on the North Shore, which is the coast of Massachusetts, just above the Boston metro area, and I've lived here most of my life. There was a gap here and there where I lived in upstate Vermont, where I've lived in central Connecticut, but generally I've spent most of my time living here in the North Shore. But I have plans to move away from here to a more affordable area. I'm still trying to nail that down. I have a couple of places that I'd really like to go, and still kind of working on all that, and it's gonna be a while and a long slog of saving some money, but there are some really affordable areas out there where I can do the things that I want to do that are mostly centered around my garden and this channel. So a lot of that all kind of ties into the success of this channel. So make sure you subscribe, you like this video, you share it out, you get people watching my videos, because that's going to just mean bigger and brighter things for me and for this channel and for me to bring to you. Haha, plug. Kind of more fun facts. What do I listen to most in the car? Actually, these days I listen to a lot of garden videos. I really love supporting my fellow YouTubers, and I love seeing what they're doing. So when I'm in my car, I typically have my phone hooked up to it, and I may not be watching the videos, but I am listening, and I just kind of listen to all my fellow small YouTubers' channels while I drive around. But if I'm not listening to a YouTube channel, I am typically listening to Broadway soundtracks, because I love Broadway. Love, 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 love it. Which brings me to the next fact, which is I perform in musical theater. You may have heard me talk about my shows from time to time. I've done a lot of chorus parts, a lot of ensembles and small roles, but I have had my share of leads. I've played Janet in Rocky Horror twice. I've done Shadowcast for Rocky too, but I have done the live musical, and it was really, really fun. I've played Miss Trunchbull in Matilda the Musical. That was hilarious. Another fact, I am a nanny by day, but by night then I was playing the meanest principal and teacher on the planet, Miss Agatha Trunchbull. It was really funny terrorizing the children, but they all loved me off stage. Currently, I am in 2 productions at once. My theater group, Dramatically Incorrect Theater and Dance Company in Lowell, Massachusetts, should anybody want to look us up and see our show. Currently, we're doing a doubleheader production. We are doing 2 shows by the Star Kid theater group, which, if anybody has seen a Harry Potter musical, it's them. So go onto YouTube, look up Team Star Kid and see their shows, because we are doing Firebringer and Twisted, the untold story of a royal vizier. Firebringer is a show about cave people discovering fire and how to use technology responsibly. I have a really funny role in that show. If anybody's seen it, I am shorn. And then I have an ensemble role in our other show, Twisted, the untold story of a royal vizier, which is just hilarious. It's basically Wicked, but about Jafar, about how he's not really a bad guy. His whole driving mission in life is to make things better for the common man, and how Aladdin, being such a jerk, and other people who are just selfish and out for themselves, really make it impossible for him to do what he needs to do to make things better. And it's just the funniest show. It makes fun of Disney so much, and you should totally see it. It's a doubleheader weekend. We are doing Tech Week next week, so it's the 13th, 14th, and 15th. You can see Firebringer or Twisted in that weekend. It is streaming virtually. Look up Dramatically Incorrect Theater and Dance Company in Lowell, Massachusetts, and you will be able to get tickets there. I have done a lot of weird things in my life. One of them is that when I was a teenager, I used to raise and race homing pigeons. It used to be a fairly common backyard fun thing, I guess. My dad did it when he was a kid, and there were lots of old men went around when he was young that did it. And when I was young, there was still a handful of old men around that were still racing pigeons, and they thought it was really fun that a 14-year-old girl wanted to get into it. Basically, it all happened because a rolling pigeon got blown into my yard, and it reminded my dad of his younger days, and started talking about it. And I said, you know what, let's do it. And we got some pigeons and went from there, and it was a lot of fun. My dad kept them for many years after I moved out, and eventually got out of it, I think 5 or 6 years ago, but he kept in it for a while there. I started drawing blanks on questions, so I went to Google for some interesting questions to ask. One of them was, your friends would say you are blank in your group. And so I took it to them. I'm like, all right, guys, what am I? I am the risk taker. And I'd say that's pretty right. I am so impulsive, and I get an idea in my head and I just go. I mean, they think I go, but in my head, I actually usually wrestle it out for quite a while before I decide to jump on something. And before they've heard about it, normally I have been thinking about it for months and months and researching and thinking about it and thinking about it and debating it in my head and going back and forth. By the time I've come close to a decision, I'll be like, I think I might do this thing. And they're like, what? And then I explain, and I'm like, so I'm thinking about doing the thing. And they will either go, yeah, do the thing, or no, don't do the thing. Don't do the thing. But typically, whether it's yeah or no, typically I do the thing. And sometimes it works out, and oftentimes it does not. But once I set my mind on a course, I go after it, and I get pretty single-minded. I'm always jumping to a new venture, and I don't always complete it because sometimes the roadblocks are just too big, and sometimes I just have to set them off to the side. Like, I've been wanting to buy a house for forever, and I just can't seem to get there. But now I'm setting myself pretty single-minded on that idea. Last year I had this, big idea about publishing a children's book, and that is still the plan. I've written the book. I had it professionally edited. It is ready to go. It's an adorable book. Every kid I've read this story to loves it. The only thing holding it up is the illustrations. I cannot draw. I can't seem to find an illustrator that I can afford, and I obviously want to make sure that people are properly compensated. So that's on hold until I can find an illustrator. But, oh yeah, there's another fact. I wrote a children's book. It's called Alex's Dragon, or There Are No Dragons in Preschool, and it's adorable. So hopefully that will be coming out. I'd like to somehow get it illustrated this fall and have it published for Christmas, but I don't know. So yeah, I am the impulsive one. I am the risk taker. I am the one who is just determined to follow her own path, I guess. My life has been kind of unconventional, and it causes a lot of difficulties, but it also brings me some unique experiences, and I like that. Another question from that list: what do you spend too much of your money on? And I think this year it might be garden supplies, but honestly, I can't say that that was a mistake. This is gorgeous and delicious and useful. But the one thing that I spend too much of my money on is takeout food, and it's ruining my budget, it's ruining my waistline. And so that's another reason that this garden is so big, and why I wish it were so much bigger. Because when I grow things in the garden, I can't bear to see them go to waste. I put in so much effort to grow them. It's fresh, it's delicious food, and so I have to cook it, which keeps me from ordering out. So all the things I spent on my garden actually are keeping me from ordering an extra pizza. And it's going to very much help in weight loss. Like right now, I have 2 spaghetti squash over there that are just about ready to harvest. Any day now, I'm going to be picking those. I'm going to bring it right upstairs, and I'm going to cook it for dinner. Delicious, healthy meal, 5 minutes from the vine. Speaking of which, I love to cook, but you'd never know it because I don't do nearly enough of it. It's usually just me at home because my kids are at that age where they have jobs and friends, and they also have their dad's side of the family, and so they're only here some nights, and summer gets fairly busy where I'm doing rehearsals for my shows, and I'm playing softball, and I'm babysitting a lot for other friends who have softball. So there's a lot of nights where I'm not home to cook dinner. Ugh, right now it's killing me. 2 more weeks, my show is over for now, softball season is done, and I'll be back to cooking some more regular dinners. My favorite thing to cook is Hungarian Goulash. This is a dish that my mom got the recipe from just one of those mail order recipe services things. Like, she had like this box, and every month a couple recipe cards would come in the mail, and we would always get really excited, like, ooh, what's coming this month? What are we gonna cook? and one of them was Hungarian Goulash. And goulash, guys, is not elbow pasta with meat, okay? That's American chop suey. That's not a goulash. I will defend that to my dying day. Hungarian goulash is amazing, and you know what? I'm gonna share the recipe when I make some. So another thing that I do in my spare time is I play softball. Badly. Sometimes I want to apologize to my team, but they're an awesome group of girls. I love it. I had played a few company softball games and it was a lot of fun, so I thought, you know, I'd love to join a softball team someday. And during the pandemic, a local softball league needed more players for a team they were trying to fill out. And so I said, you know what, why not? Why not? I'll play, it'll just be fun. This league takes things a little more seriously than just for fun, but also it's a game, and I think most of them know that. And just, you know, I've even had players on the other team like give me batting tips. It's a pretty great league. I like it. I'm having a lot of fun. Had to move inside to my grow room for a bit because we have electricians here working on the house, so they're discussing some things, so I moved inside. One of the things that jumped out on that list of questions was your first car. I won't get into some of the background on it, but I didn't get my license until I was nearly 30 for a handful of reasons. But when I did get my first car, it was a 1997 Plymouth Breeze that I got in 2010. And that thing, it was this weird green color, and I had to travel around with a canister of transmission fluid and oil in my car because it was leaking and I'd have to fill it all the time. It was $1,000 special because that's all I could afford at the time. But it was a great little car, a neat little thing to learn on, and I traveled all around the New England area with that. It's just, oh, I love that little car. What makes me smile and kind of laugh about only having it for 5 months, because eventually it did die because I bought it with 150,000 miles on it, but it wasn't all those problems that did it. I named the car Elphaba because, you know, I love Broadway. Wicked's one of my favorite shows. The car was green. What else am I gonna name it, really? But the funny thing about it is, what do you think killed that car? You name something after the Wicked Witch of the West, and then it gets killed by water. I was driving one night in a rainstorm, and I ended up in a flooded area of the street, and it wasn't that bad. I was driving through it, it would have been fine, but then a big huge SUV came plowing through that puddle. It washed the puddle from where they were up over the hood of my car. Water got in the intake, blew the engine, like the cylinder just boom. So Elphaba taken down by water. What is my favorite season? Summer! Hello! I am getting tomatoes, I am getting eggplants, peppers, cucumbers, beans. Like, the garden is in full swing and I love it. I'm out there tending to my plants and just keeping up with them and harvesting the food and making the food. Although I will have to say there is something to be said for spring. It's still cold and rainy and ugh. But I'm planting things and I'm getting little seedlings to grow and transplanting them out in the garden on nice sunny days where it's not too hot. Favorite season, summer, runner-up spring, and then fall gets an honorable mention. Winter. And the last question that I will pull from that list is, what was your favorite vacation? And I went on a couple of cruises that were pretty awesome, but I'm gonna say my favorite all-time vacation has to have been when I was 19 years old. I took an amazing vacation all by myself. That is the beauty of living at home and working a full-time job. You have disposable income, and I really haven't had any of that since. But I took this vacation 20 years ago to a little island in the Bahamas called Bimini. It was amazing. I stayed in a little one-bedroom cottage right on the water. So I'd walk out and there would be a little dock there. So you walk out and look down and you could see giant, like 4-foot wide stingrays just gliding under the dock because the water there was only about 4 or 5 feet deep and it was crystal clear. But the main thing was I went diving with wild dolphins. We took 4 trips out on the boat with the group with the tour guide for the day. And when we would find a pod of wild dolphins, we would jump into the ocean and we would go swim with them. One of those dives was super unique because normally when the humans get into the water, the dolphins will actually have a couple of babysitters round up the young ones and take them away. And then the other adults come in and they like to play. They're like, yeah, people, and they go dive and it's great. But they take the babies away with sort of like a nanny dolphin. It's kind of neat to see how they do that. But this time they let the babies stay. And the babies were about 3 feet long. And so they would swim around and they were just all goofy and it was so much fun. I also went kayaking through mangroves to a sulfur springs, and sitting in that thing was amazing. I would love to get back there someday. It was just such an amazing place to visit, and I would love to go and do that again and maybe bring home a puppy, because they have a breed of dog out there called the Royal Bahamian Pot Cake, and I need one. Someday I will have my pot cake puppy. I said this 20 years ago and it stands. I will have a pot cake puppy someday. But I'm guessing that's about it for this video. Just kind of some fun things, random things, get to know me. And I'm gonna work on those hopes and dreams video kind of a little bit more in depth, like where I come from, what's spurring me to do what I want to do, where am I now, where do I want to go, how am I gonna get there. It's emotional and I'm probably gonna cry a little bit. If you want to follow along and see that journey to get where we're going from day one, go ahead, look at some of my older videos so you can see how we built this wicked awesome garden from nothing. You'll see in that, where did I come from video, the first garden I grew. And come along with us, subscribe to the channel so that you can see my where do I want to go video, and then you can see me get there and see how I changed kind of my whole life. Like, that's what's coming, is I am changing my whole life to go and do the things that I've always wanted to do. So hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I'll see you in our next video where we grow more wicked awesome food from yard to table. Bye-bye.